All right, I'd like to call this public meeting to order for the Township of Portslade, and I'll start by saying that anybody in the gallery, until they're moved into the area that we occupy, that your microphones will be muted and your video is not on. So I'll start with roll call, and I have Councillor Bailey.
I'm present.
Councillor Bulmer.
Present.
Councillor Goida.
Present. Can you hear me?
Yep. And Councillor Sipulis.
Present.
And I am present. And I will ask Ms. White Fox to do attend. Can you guys hear me? Yep.
Oh, sorry, I think that was my computer. Mr. Mayor, it's saying my connection is unstable. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So we have Zach Prince, County Planner,
Present.
and Glenn Schwendinger, CAO Clerk,
Present.
and then myself, Deputy Clerk.
All right. So the purpose of this public meeting is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or to express views with respect to development proposals. Councilors are here to observe and listen to your comments. However, they will not make any decisions this evening. Township requests that you please notify by email Lynn Banks at lbanks@portslade.ca or by phone at 519-763-1226, extension 226, if you wish to be on record and would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding these applications. Please note the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. As the chair, I'm informing you that when council makes a decision, should you disagree with that decision, the Planning Act provides you with an opportunity to appeal this application to the Land Planning Advisory Tribunal for a hearing. Please note that if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to the Township of Portslade before the decision is made, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Township of Portslade to the Land Planning Advisory Tribunal. In addition, if a person or public body does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make a written comments to the Township of Portslade before the decision is made, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Land Planning Advisory Tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. You may wish to talk to Township staff regarding further information on the appeal process. The Planning Act requires that at least one public meeting be held for each development proposal. The format of this public meeting is as follows. The applicant or agent will present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Following this, the public can obtain clarification, ask questions, and express their views on the proposal. Council will then have an opportunity to ask any clarification questions. The applicant and county planner's staff will attempt to answer questions or respond to concerns this evening. If this is not possible, the applicant and/or staff will follow up and obtain this information. Responses will be provided when this matter is brought forward and evaluated by council at a later date. And now I'll ask county planning staff to please explain the first portion, the township initiated housekeeping amendment around kennels.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, this amendment is to recognize kennels that are already operating in the township. Through the use of the kennel licensing process, it was recognized that in the new comprehensive zoning bylaw, there were 7 properties that have operated as kennels for some time in the township, but have not been recognized in the zoning bylaw. So the purpose of this amendment is to recognize those kennels. In the township zoning bylaw, kennels are a prohibited use unless specifically permitted on a property. Again, this amendment would allow the existing kennels on these uses. So it's recognizing those current kennels. So as I mentioned, there's 7 properties in total. They're all in the agricultural area throughout the township. There was a public information meeting that was held, that was for the property owners. 6 out of the 7 properties opted into the kennel provisions that we're proposing to make here. The 7th property owner we haven't heard from, but we have still included them in this amendment at this time. And we'll still continue to try to reach out and confirm before the final bylaw goes back to council. We also presented to PDAC on December 8th, and PDAC indicated support for the proposed changes. Just a quick note on the official plan. The official plan does identify that kennels may be allowed on existing lots, subject to the local zoning bylaw criteria. And also included in this report is a draft zoning bylaw for comments and for not consideration. We're not considering the bylaw this time, but for reference and for comments. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You're muted, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you, Zach. Courtney, are there any attendees that wish to comment or ask questions?
I see one hand up, registered as Carl Cook, so I'll just unmute you now, Carl.
And just make sure you state your full name and your address, please. Carl, Ms. Hoy Fox, do they have to unmute themselves as well, or do you have control?
I've given him the ability to speak. He just has the mute on himself. There we go.
Doesn't have a question at the moment.
Hello, thank you, Carl. Just make sure you mention your full name and your address, please.
He doesn't actually have a question,
He wants to know who's tuned in though. Carl.
but he's
Cook
here. He's here.
At
Okay,
42.
stop.
He wants to ask my address.
Sorry. Mr. Cook, we only require your name and address if you have a question you wish to propose to either staff or, well, mostly staff.
Okay, I see, Mr. Mayor, we do have one other hand that's raised. Did we want to maybe just go to Diane Ritchie while we wait for Carl?
Sure.
Hello,
Hello, Diane. Please just state your full name and your address, please, prior to your question.
4712 Wellington Road 32.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I was just wondering if I am running a retired kennel and I have not bred for at least 7 years. And I'm growing my dogs out. I still have 7 dogs. 5 of the 7 are aged 9 and above, the oldest one being 16. And I'm just wondering how the kennel is going to work with that. If I will still be allowed to just throw them out as senior citizens. I have no intention of breeding or buying any more dogs at this point.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
Through the chair, I can maybe defer to Courtney on this. I'm not sure if 7 dogs, if a kennel is required for that number of dogs specifically.
Mr. Chair, our existing kennel bylaw, licensing bylaw has more than 3 dogs requiring a kennel license. And Diane, I do believe from your licensing history, you have purchased a kennel license in the past. And I know your situation is maybe a little bit more unique, but at this point, we would be including you in the zoning amendment at this point in time.
Thank you.
You have further questions, Ms. Ritchie?
No, not at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further questions or?
I don't see any other hands being raised, Mr. Mayor.
Does council have any clarification questions regarding this proposal?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Bowman.
No, this is interesting. Mrs. Ritchie has raised a very interesting point I don't think any of us thought of, and that is that someone that has been a kennel but is looking to get out of it or to retire from it, and is not necessarily looking to have the zoning applied. Is there a way whereby when we put this in place that we can allow her to sunset her operation through, for some method, as opposed to, so she doesn't get the full zoning perhaps, but she can sunset out, understanding that it won't be transferable to the next owner, that kind of thing.
Through the chair, I think most of those temporary type provisions would be through a temporary use bylaw rather than a zoning bylaw amendment. I think for kennels, I think the practice in the county anyways, and other townships, is that when you do allow the kennel permissions in the zoning bylaw, they are there until they're removed over time. And I think the 2018 bylaw did remove some of those kennels. I'm not exactly sure the rationale when they were creating the new bylaw of what was carried forward and what was removed. But our intention here was just to correct some of these ones that were operating as kennels at the time of the previous amendment, and still, in our mind, continue to operate as kennels because they have been getting their kennel licenses, if that maybe helps answer.
Well, and there's a real possibility with the age of the animals that Ms. Ritchie has identified, that by the time this comes to fruition, that she might be under the total amount of animals and not require a kennel license. And I believe Ms. Ritchie, if she is included in this and gets the zoning, that's probably a benefit. And I think that's something that she will have to make a decision on her own as to whether she wants to accept the zoning or let it lapse. Is that a fair statement, Zachary? I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
does that help you, Councillor Bulmer?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure staff, I just want to make sure staff put some thought into this situation, which is one I hadn't considered as we entered this process. That's all. And if there's a way we can help achieve what she'd like to achieve out of this, that's great. And if not, well, it'll still work for her.
Perfect. Is there further information which the county planning staff wish to provide?
Not at this time.
Okay. I'll just one last check. Ms. Whitefox, any questions from the gallery?
I don't see any hands being raised.
Give them a couple of seconds because we're all new to this Zoom format. So. All right, well, we'll move on to the specific proposal number 2. And this public meeting involves an application by Diodoro Enterprises for an official plan amendment and rezoning application D14/DIO, redesignate a portion of the Victoria Park Valley Golf Club from the recreational designation to the secondary agricultural designation to facilitate a future vacant lot severance, and to rezone a portion of the lands from residential commercial RC SP 51 to agricultural A zone, permit the development of a single detached residential dwelling. And I will ask Ms. Whitefox to bring in the applicant or owner joining the panelists to explain the proposal. Ms. Fox, do you have any additional material to provide on our screen for us? Property sketch or presentation material?
Yes, I just have an aerial view of the property I can put up.
Okay, thank you. Now, put that up. Trying to find the name.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, Nancy Shoemaker, I can see is here to present. I see she's unmuted.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you. Nancy, whenever you would like to start, you may begin.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Shoemaker. I'm the planning consultant representing the owner of Victoria Park Valley Golf Course with respect to the official plan amendment and zone change. So the property is currently designated recreational in the County of Wellington official plan, and it's in a specialized resort commercial zone in the township's zoning bylaw. The uses permitted include golf course, golf driving range, an existing single detached dwelling, clubhouse, pro shop, maintenance buildings and work yard, practice putting greens, passive recreational uses such as cross-country skiing, walking trails, accessory buildings, structures, and uses. So at this time, the owner is seeking an official plan amendment and zone change to permit a future severance accommodating a new residential dwelling on the vacant surplus lands associated with the golf course and located along Maltby Road. And that would be the area highlighted in red on the plan. I think some of the members of council were present during this original application, but for some history and background on the property. The DeCorso family acquired this property in 2005 with the intent of creating a 27-hole golf course to replace the existing Victoria Park West golf course in the city of Guelph. That course was about to close and be redeveloped for residential purposes. So the owners hope to provide affordable golf course to accommodate their existing customer base and potential new customers from South Wellington and the surrounding community. When they purchased the land in 2005, the entire property was designated secondary agricultural in the county official plan, and it was zoned agricultural in the township's bylaw. At that time, the secondary agricultural designation did allow for, or the rural system did allow for recreational uses, and the golf course was considered an appropriate land use within a recreational area. However, it was required to be redesignated into a recreational designation in the official plan. So after numerous studies and public meetings, official plan amendment number 60 was approved, redesignating the lands to recreational, and the zone change was approved in 2008. After that, we went through a number of site plans on the property. And finally, the new course opened in 2011. And over the past 8 years, the full 27-hole course has been fully developed. Once part of the property, if you see on the air photo, there's a drive into the golf course proper. On the left side of the driveway is the pro shop. And then to the right, in behind the house at 7664, Maltby Road East, there was the existing residential house. And that was allowed to stay under the zoning. The purpose of that was to accommodate the owner or potentially staff of the golf course. But over time, it was determined the house really wasn't suitable for accommodation. And the course, being very successful, had expanded, and it was necessary to create surplus or additional parking for customers as well as staff. So that house was removed, and that area now is occupied by additional parking and storage buildings. So the owner is still interested in living adjacent to the course or close to the course. And the area that we're talking about, as I indicated, outlined in red, is completely surplus to the course, has no value to the course. It's a knoll raised up above the rest of the course that's in behind. And so what the owner would like to do is go back to the original secondary agricultural designation on this small parcel, and to have a zone change to agricultural that would ultimately permit a severance in the future for his house. It's really quite compatible with what's adjacent to him on both the north and south side of Maltby Road, our rural residential dwellings. In the past, there was a entrance permit allowed for this parcel. So that is on record. And at this point in time, we're just seeking a redesignation back to the original agriculture, secondary agricultural, and a zone change to agricultural. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. Are there any persons who have any questions, require further clarification or information, or wish to present their views on the proposal? Any hands up, Ms. White Fox?
I don't see any hands being raised.
Give it a couple minutes. Not even. Is there any questions from council? Not seeing any. Is there any further information which the applicant wished to provide?
I think that's everything from my end.
We haven't seen it. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
All right, I'll just make one note. We have received one written comment from the public. I'll just maybe make a note of that if that's okay.
Sure.
So through the chair, it's just one resident that noted they were in favor of the amendment, but they would like to know if this creates precedent for future severance of the same subject lands, in which they said they would not be in favor of that if it did create a precedent.
Okay.
And sorry, we'll include that comment in the final planning report.
I was going to say, because you're probably going to answer that because I'm not. That's for sure. Okay, thank you. Is there anything from council on that? Okay. All right. Give it up. I declare this public meeting closed. Council will take no action on the proposals tonight. Staff will be reporting at a later date with a recommendation for council's consideration. If you wish to receive further notification of this proposal, please email or call Lynn Banks, Development and Legislative Coordinator at lbanks@portlange.ca, or by phone at 519-763-1226, extension 226, or contact township staff during regular business hours. Only those persons who leave their names will be provided further notification. If you wish to speak to the proposal when it is brought before council in the future, you must register as a delegation with the township clerk prior to the meeting. That concludes our meeting. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.